close collaboration with Vicky Floor. And secondly, it's the first big event we are organizing in the newly renovated and refurbished residence building. I moved in 3 weeks ago. I was in exile at Maltsamat for 18 months when they were redoing not only the residence but the whole embassy compound. So we are very special guests in that respect as well. And the theme of the day, women in business leadership in India and in Finland. Somebody, excuse me? You have to go close, okay? Can you hear me now? I think I need a mic on my hand. It's better. Yes. Yeah, can I have a hand mic? It's better than sort of standing here and speaking this close. Right, does this work? Yeah. No, I've never been to an event where technique would work. Doesn't work. Does it work now? No. All right. I will breathe next to this and move slightly forward so then you can all hear. So once again, welcome to this Women in Business Leadership event. And that's an idea we had some time in making. Partially, I was inspired by Leena Linnanmaa, who is our special guest from Finland, Deputy Executive of the Finland Chamber of Commerce, and a lady behind many things, but in particular behind a women leadership mentoring program that she will talk about later today. Then I've been in India now for 2 years, and I've been traveling a lot around the country, meeting both Finnish business in India, Indian business, women's organizations, talking to the business, what they do, listening to their ideas, listening to their challenges, and thinking, well, is that something we could do together when we think about women, business, India, and Finland? And thus, we came to this idea. Then I thought, well, I need a good Indian partner. To whom should I talk? Then I went to Vicky Floor, and I found a good Indian partner. Thank you for bringing all these people here with you this afternoon. Thank you to President Pinky Reddy and to all the members of the governing board. I'm really honored to have you here. But also very honored to have here 2 Finns who will be in speaking and in the panel. There is Saija Korkala, who is working for the Skandinaviska Enskilda Banken, which is a Swedish bank, but she's a Finnish lady, and she's working for the bank here now for 2 years. Then we have Janne Einola, a Finnish gentleman, who's working for Hennes & Mauritz, which is also a Swedish company. So in a way you can see the best Finnish talent is going over to Sweden. But we are sort of good neighbors with them, so we don't really care. In any case, we have Janne and Saija here this afternoon to share their experience. And then a very special friend from Pune, Niles Sahasrapute from Tieto company. Tieto is a Finnish company that Niles has been now running for how many years? 7? Okay, 13 years. And I visited Tieto last summer, and I was impressed by what I saw, but I leave that to Niles to talk about. But why are we here then this afternoon? What can we now do together? I think we can together we can explore the opportunities and challenges that we still face, women still face in working life, be it India, be it Finland, be it some other European country. And we are here also to look for common solutions. In Finland, 72% of women who are in the employable age are in working life. That's quite a high figure. 1/3 of the Finnish entrepreneurs are women, and that means something like 280,000 Finnish women are in business. And most of them are in sort of micro or small businesses. And lastly, the last figure, never too many figures, 27% of board members of listed Finnish companies are women, which is quite an achievement. And that is something that Leena and her organization have been working very hard for, so congratulations on that. But we are also here today to exchange good practices regarding women's career development and inclusion in business and leadership. And also, we are here to discuss the role that chambers of commerce, business organizations could have in influencing attitudes and assumptions concerning women and women's career in business. And I think we also need to discuss a bit of laws and strategies that either enable or disable women being active in business and in working life. And then lastly, we're also here to consider how we can mentor. What are the best practices that we can change between the two countries? So this sets the scene for the afternoon. I will stop here and I will give the floor next to Pinky Reddy, who is the president of Wikiflow and director of GVK Group. And she will be then followed by Leena Linnaimaa, and then followed by Harninder Kaur, followed by Saya, and then by Ms. Archana Karodia-Gupta. After that, we will have a short break, and we get our panel organized. But however, I also encourage you to, you the audience, also to take up the floor in between. If you have questions, comments, ideas after each of the speakers, don't hesitate. I will be the chairperson of the event. I'll try to keep us on track and on time. So once again, welcome, and Mrs. Reddy, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Nina. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. When I had this meeting with Nina, and she was so passionate about what she wanted me to do, and she said, you have to do this event. So I just couldn't say no. So we are here today. I can't imagine the day has already arrived. We are truly delighted to be here at this program hosted by Finland Embassy at the beautiful residence of the ambassador. I heard it's really beautiful, but I've not seen, other than this art, I haven't seen more than that. On behalf of Flow, I would like to thank Your Excellency and the Embassy for collaborating with FLO for this exclusive event. Sincere thanks to all the speakers for being with us today. I must say, Finland and India share tremendous... Can I close this if you don't mind? Oh, okay. I must say, Finland and India share traditionally warm and friendly relations since diplomatic relations were established in 1949. The two countries also enjoy an extensive economic, cultural, and strategic relationships. Finland sees India as a market for its products and a favorable investment destination for its high technology industries. India views Finland as an important member of the EU and a repository of modern technology. India's trade with Finland's crossed $1 billion and is in Finland's favor. In 2016 and 17, Finland was India's 60th largest trade partner globally and the 10th largest within the EU. Similarly, India was Finland's 23rd largest trade partner globally and the 5th largest within Asia. I hope you're able to hear. As per FDI statistics, Finnish companies had invested $419 million between April 2000 to July 2017. Within the EU, Finland ranks 12th among countries investing in India. Approximately 100 Finnish companies now have operations in India, including through investments. About 30 Indian companies, mainly in the software and consultancy sector, are active in Finland. Women empowerment is one issue which is another common thread that connects both countries. Entrepreneurship is considered as one of the most important factors contributing to the economic development of the society. Studies suggest that countries which have proportionately higher percentage of entrepreneurs in their population have developed much faster as compared to countries which have lesser percentage of them. Both India and Finland have worked together towards accelerating women participation in the process of economic development by promoting entrepreneurship and professional excellence. I completely identify with what Nyaya, Ambassador of Finland of India, had mentioned in an interview during the International Women's Day this year, that the empowerment and equal status of women are not conceivable within political and economic inclusion and empowerment. It is extremely important to underline women's participation and leadership in political and economic decision making, enhancing the rights and the position of women and girls and their opportunities to participate strengthens the society as a whole. FLOW would be delighted to explore the possibilities of working jointly towards the common goal of women empowerment. We would also use the common modalities such as capacity building and skill development programs for women, which we do a lot. FLOW does a lot of this. Here I would like to mention that FLOW is the oldest chamber for women in Southeast Asia, with the prime objective of women empowerment through the promotion of entrepreneurial and professional excellence. Over the 35 years of FLOW existence, it has grown as an organization and has carved a niche as one of the premier business organizations in India. With 15 chapters and over 6,000 members pan-India, FLOW is committed to working towards women empowerment through business development and capacity building initiatives besides other programs. FLOW believes that resources and strengths of women need to be channelized to help their full potential. It acts as a catalyst for the social and economic advancement of women and society at large. Educational and vocational training programs, talks, seminars, panel discussions and workshops on a vast range of subjects, especially concerning women and business, are a part in progress. The objective of the organization is to encourage and facilitate women to showcase their talents, skills, experiences and energies across sectors and verticals of the economy for a truly inclusive economic growth trajectory. Advancing women's rights, building women's leadership and investing in women in movement building are the key levers of change. Every initiative of every project that FLOW has undertaken since its existence have been driven by the goal of creating a more just and sustainable environment for women. Here, I would like to mention that FLOW is taking a lead in making the formal sectors of the economy realize the need for creating equal opportunities for women. First of its kind in India, FLOW has come out with a Gender Parity Index, a toolkit to evaluate gender diversity in India's formal sector. A number of companies participated in this evaluation process, and based on these responses, we have rated in the Gender Parity Index. Besides, on the responses for the companies, a report on gender parity has been prepared with the articulates the success. Challenging the policy recommendations for the government, the index shall also serve as a self-assessment for an organization, other equivalent or comparable formal sector organizations. I would like to thank you for giving me this opportunity to share what we have been doing, and there's a lot more to do. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mrs. Reddy. Now I would like to give the floor to Lena Linnanmäki, the Deputy Chief Executive, Finland Chamber of Commerce. Just a couple of words of Lena. Still, she's an expert in company law, securities market law, and corporate governance. And I already mentioned the Women Leaders Program, and that's an award-winning program that she has created. So, please.
Your Excellency, the Ambassador, ladies and gentlemen. I'm actually very pleased to be able to say gentlemen, because the issue is not just women's issue. This is an issue for everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, there is one thing common in every country of the world. No country is fully using the potential of women. And that is what we are here to change. Why we need to talk about women business leaders? The fact is, as I mentioned, that no country is fully using women's potential. This means that societies and companies are losing potential. They are losing good people who could be the best leaders. So what we're at the Chamber of Commerce, we're not saying that you only need to employ women. That is not what we're doing. We say that you need to have the best people as leaders, not just the best men, as used to be the tradition. In many countries, the business sector has been fully neglecting this issue. And this has led to legislated quotas in many countries, such as Norway, France, Germany, Belgium. They have quotas because the business sector was not interested and the politicians became interested instead. We at Finland Chamber of Commerce wish to do it in another manner. We say that it is up to the business sector to make the difference. It shouldn't be just a political issue. It is mainly a business issue to have the best leaders for companies. And this has created, as was already mentioned, the award Women Business Leaders program of Finland Chamber of Commerce. This is us saying thank you to the World Championships among Chambers of Commerce, so to say, the Best Corporate Social Responsibility Project 2015. It is, of course, not about just us having a good program. It tells that it is a global issue, actually. Every corner of the world is speaking about it, perhaps not everywhere enough, but it is a rising issue. Why aren't there many more women business leaders? So what we are doing at Finland Chamber of Commerce, how do we work with this program? First of all, there needs to be information, there needs to be data. If I go to a journalist and say that my opinion is this and that, it might not be interesting. It might be interesting to me what my opinion is, but in general it is not that interesting. I need to show real information, data. So we provide studies. Also the mentoring program I will tell you about. And this also means that we have a dedicated website. I have the website address there. We have English materials there also, studies, tools there, and we are really active also providing best practices in events like this. These are pictures of the women leader studies that we have done, and the latest 2017. There are a few copies somewhere around here if you wish to really see a lot of data about the women leader situation. We study all Finnish stock exchange listed companies to see the situation on boards, CEO level and executive level. And what are we finding? We are actually finding that we have more than 4 times the women on board of listed companies nowadays compared to 2003, when all of this discussion started. Whereas even in Europe, in quite many countries, there hasn't really been much change. On the other side, some countries have legislated quotas. So the situation is quite diverse. In Finland, large listed companies today have 34% women on boards without quotas. And as for all listed companies, the figure has risen this year. It is now 29%. And pitifully in 2003, it was only 7%. So what happened? This is actually what happened, and I have been happy enough to be able to work on the corporate governance code for listed companies, a photo of this on this slide. In 2008, there was some political pressure one lady minister said that if you, the business sector, if you don't do something, I'm interested in legislating quotas, and we said, let us do this. So we wrote into the corporate governance code that on the board of a listed company, both genders shall be represented. And this really changed the scene. This happened in 2008, and at that time, only half of Finland's listed companies had any woman on the board. Nowadays, almost all companies have both genders on the board. And why did they? This is a recommendation. Why did it work? Because this recommendation contains the obligation to give a public explanation if both genders are not represented on the board. And ladies and gentlemen, for an international large listed company, it is very difficult to give a sensible explanation. We could not find any capable woman from the whole world. And they didn't give this explanation because they could not behave sensibly and give such an explanation. So the companies not complying with this recommendation, they are small companies, and of course the resources are not the same as for the large companies. So this really made the difference, and as said, I have been very happy to be able to work with this code writing to produce this change. Here I have, you might be wondering why I have so many photos of women. These are photos from our Women Leaders program, and the reason I'm showing them in this presentation is that the role model of a leader is often a man. The image in our head when you say the word CEO or board member, director, it is a man. And I want to change this. So that's why I'm showing always women's images on presentations like this, to change the image in our own heads, because even we women have this traditional image. Furthermore, there's a picture of our brochure, 20 Ways to Promote Women Business Leaders. There are some copies of this somewhere, and all of this will be distributed also electronically. We are saying to the society here that it might be important to have more women study engineering, technical issues, because the world is getting more digital. We're also saying to the society that good quality childcare is important, to have women on the workforce. To the employers, we're saying tone from the top is important. The top level executives need to say that this is an important issue. You may need to make some changes. You need to understand women's issues at your company. And to the women themselves, we are saying you shouldn't be overly critical. You don't need to work and be available at your email 24 hours, 7 days a week. You can go and combine private life and working life. When you do this sensibly, if there is a chaos at midnight, surely they will contact you. You don't have to do it all the time. So we're trying to give all kinds of hints in this brochure, and as said, there are some available in this room also. As for the mentoring, one of the speakers after me has actually participated in this. Maybe Saya will mention a couple of words of this, I don't know. But we have found it very important, or not only to work with the media, but to have something concrete to the women who have potential. And the structure of the mentoring program is that we need applications from candidates. Then we, based on these applications and the potential that we see, that we select women, 40 women at the same time, which we are running now for the 4th time, top-level mentors who work pro bono for this. They don't get paid. They are CEOs, directors in large companies, really top-level mentors, both male and female mentors. And the idea is not just to have the mentoring relationship, but to build a network among these women. So this program differs from other mentoring programs in this aspect that we really want these women to get to know each other. Women leaders from different business sectors, like this event here also, during the process, get to know new people. We organize meetings with headhunters. We make quality control. And what are the results? I will tell a little bit more about that after the testimonials from mentees. These are actual quotes, and women are often overly critical. Some have said even, and we have often heard this, that after this program, I realize now that I am a professional leader, just as like anybody else. And there are challenges that I'm facing that the other ones are also facing. I'm finding my full competence through this program. Mentor gives support and strength to continue in my role despite difficulties. And some of them are saying that the best part is the new network, the women that I have been able to get to know. So now I can anytime call anybody in any sector to get information and contacts. What are the mentors saying? They are saying, for example, some male mentor has said that he recommends this to all top-level males to participate. This is an important project. They're also saying that they're getting a view to women's challenges. It might be that the men, top-level men, they don't understand really the issues at stake. Some of the reconciliation of family and private life, the expectations that women face. So we are also, let's say, teaching the top-level men some of the issues that might be that they might be blind to at the moment. Results, we have studied, asked the ladies who have participated 2 years after the program has ended, did it change something? And most of them said that actually it had concrete career impact. Most of them are in new positions. Some of them have started their own companies, small companies often, of course, and they have been able to reach their goals. And I have to say that we have several women on board of listed companies who have participated in this and who have publicly also mentioned that it has helped them to get through when they had, let's say, ideas and help from the mentor to build their CV and to get the right contacts. And last but not least is the role of the media. The truth is that companies have all kinds of challenges. They need to make money. They might not have time to think about this issue, but if the media is active, is portraying women business leaders, is portraying the importance of having also women to reach their full potential, then the companies wake up. And our experience in Finland has been that part of the reason that we have more women business leaders in Finland than some countries have is that the media has been there, sometimes even naming and shaming companies who don't have women up there. So I hope that this will be more and more also in India, that women role models are portrayed there, and it is the importance is taken into a consideration through the media, because otherwise I don't expect too much change to happen. We at Finland Chamber of Commerce, we are happy to share our best practices, photos from Namibia, Saudi Arabia, Brussels here. And I fully believe that the world is totally ready for more women business leaders. And I think that the good audience here really witnesses this issue. So this is my short presentation. My Twitter account is there, and also the website address where our materials can be found. And as said, there are some copies somewhere around here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lena. Can you hear me? I have to check again. Are there any immediate questions that would come to your mind at this point? Yeah, please.
Yeah, when we started the mentoring, we made a press release, and it was actually some kind of news in Finland that the business sector is so interested in this that the largest newspaper even wrote an article that now you can apply for this program. So we get applications, voluntary applications, and we selected the ones that we believe that will benefit from the program most. So this is totally voluntary, but we also need the media to write about this, that the women are aware that they can apply for this. It could be replicated. Of course, we in Finland, I can arrange a program in Finland because I know who I can ask to be a mentor. Here I would know who to go to and say that could you become as a mentor to our program. But many of the tools that we use could be used anywhere, the applications, the survey tools, the program idea, that would work here, but of course you would need to have the people here who could be mentors, and how to work to have the applicants, enough applicants, so you would have a good quality group there who would be able to benefit fully from these top level mentors.
Okay, we'll take 2 more questions and then we will carry on because we will have the panel as well. So please.
The thing is that we have working on this. I have worked on this issue for the whole since, let's say, 2000. So it has been a long process, and little by little the media got interested. Little by little the companies got interested, and now there are really top-level people interested in this. So it is not something that happens overnight. It's a long project, and we use the data. I write articles, there are interviews, there are events, and all kinds of tools need to be used for this, because I can say it's not easy. There were very harsh words 15 years ago that I had to tolerate when I was speaking about this, and that does not happen anymore. There is no ridiculing anymore, and 15 years ago there could be ridiculing. So it's a long way, needing more different kinds of elements. I hope this answered your question.
Thank you. And just one last question, please.
At the moment, just in Finland, it is, when we do this program, it is 1.5 years, so that they can fully get the network. And after the program has ended, we still organize some events. Like a few weeks ago, there was an event we have now 4 different courses, where the women from the different courses could participate and network. So we're trying to build a permanent network also. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Then next I would like to give the floor to Ms. Harjinder Kaur, who is the National Senior Vice President of Flow, and also Managing Director and CEO of Conversion India. And she will talk about economic empowerment of women and entrepreneurship. Please.
Thank you, Her Excellency, Ambassador of Finland of India. Thank you so much. Ladies and few gentlemen here, is it audible? I am very excited to be addressing this August gathering here today, and it would be a pleasure for me to share my experiences and what I think of as an economic empowerment for women in India and anywhere else in the world. So I would be talking about some catalysts of women economic empowerment in our country and outside our country. When I'm talking about the perspective of India, there have been many initiatives done by the government to promote economic empowerment of women. They have initiated schemes like Mudra loans and some other schemes which are there for the startups of Indian women. They have taken care of that any woman who wants to start an initiative, here is the support by government. And they have not looked at really the social structure of that woman, whether she needs anything else other than that. So I think that's a gap which is existing as far as our country is concerned. I may not be knowing many things about Finland, but it will be an enriching experience for us to know what is happening in Finland and where could there be an exchange between India and Finland where we could have these policies for both the countries which could suit us. So when I'm talking about that economic growth of our country, economic growth of women is very necessary to break new grounds in economic growth of any country. So there have to be schemes, as I mentioned, that there is Mudra scheme, which is for startups. But there is nothing which is there for established businesswomen in our country, at least. There is no special initiative given by government that they say, here is a woman who has reached the pinnacle of her success, and she needs these things from us, and here we push it. And once I brought it up with finance minister of our country also, that there is a woman who has reached certain stage, and she needs more funds. Look at the social structure of India. As Indian social structure, we do not have many women who have those collateral securities in their name, and they need more funds. Their family may not give them those funds, and there are different setups in India. So there we need government. So the policy changes we need in India, where we need support from government, is for existing women also who's reached certain stage. Now she has to grow to next step. That is where you will see Indian women or Indian business women in top 500 or top 100 or top 50 or top 10 in the country. That is where we require the support from the government. So, when you talk about Chamber of Commerce, can you imagine that there are so many Chamber of Commerce in India for men, and there is just one, that is Wikiflow for women in the whole of Southeast Asia. So I think we need more Chamber of Commerce for women in our country, and these Chamber of Commerce have to work towards promoting and suggesting the policy changes to the government of India that these are the things we want for women, and work towards the inclusive growth of the economy in our country. So, as a woman, as a businesswoman, what I feel, and after I gather from all my years of experience, is that we women do not want reservations. We want opportunities. We want right environment for us. Given these two things, see the distance that we can travel and see where we reach. We are nowhere. Nobody can stop us to reach where we want to reach. I am really thankful to my father, who, despite being from a small town, had given me and taught me the importance of being economically independent. In those days, I did my computer science when women never used to think of, there was certain fields that women would think of: teacher, doctor, engineer, and I did my computer science and started my business with a very meager amount. It was such a small amount, I don't even want to mention it on a platform today where I have probably done something. So it was a very meager amount, and I had taken a loan then because I wanted to do everything on my own, And setting up an IT business in those days by a woman was not heard of. And in fact, till date, I do not know if I've seen any other woman in the specific area of intelligent traffic and transport that I am representing. I've yet to see. And, these words sound so challenging and technically impossible for a woman, because they are considered a man's domain. And that is so clearly seen by me when I'm visiting a client or when I'm sitting in a meeting, because there is a doubt in the minds of people sitting on other side of table that I'm a woman. Am I really knowing my subject when I'm talking to them about these subjects there? And it's only when I open my mouth and I start talking about the subject that they know I know the subject. So in a way, if you really look at my situation, I had started on a little negative note, because I had to convince them that no, I know my subject. And then I started. So, many people ask me how easy it is doing business being a woman. And my answer is, there is no difference. At the end of the day, you have to deliver what is written there in contract for you. And after you reach a certain stage, men and women sit in the same table, same room, and you have to really deliver and work together to reach and to deliver what you need to deliver to a customer. Steve Jobs said, stay hungry, stay foolish. And the mantra of success is that you need to innovate. Unless you innovate, you will not be able to, have this new perspective and fresh twist to whatever you do. And you will stop growing. And that applies to women also. We cannot keep on doing traditional things and say that I've done this and now I'm continuing doing this. No, you have to bring an innovation, you have to bring a twist to what you are doing, and that's the way to succeed. So, I'm sorry, our former President Shri APJ Abdul Kalam had said, empowering women is prerequisite to creating a good nation. When women are empowered, society with stability is assured. I so much agree with him. That is so much true. This stands true more so today in the global context where women are empowered and can claim their rights and access to land, leadership opportunities, economies grow, food security is enhanced, and prospects are improved for current and future. I'm not going to read from this because this is not me. So I would just talk about economic empowerment of women. So what I spoke to you about is the government has to come forward to do better hand holding for women who are doing business and give that some identification to the woman who's done well. She has to become a role model and they have to portray. I completely agree with you that media plays a very, very important role in showing what women have done and showing them as a success story. That's the mantra of success. So ladies, empowerment of any woman is nothing but her economic empowerment. If she is economically independent, nothing can stop her. There is no other empowerment which exists in this world. It is only economic empowerment which exists in this world. And if you economically empower a woman, or if a woman is economically empowered, other empowerment factors come automatically to her. That's my.
Thank you. That was a very powerful ending. Thank you for a nice words. And then I would like to give the floor to, I think it's Saya Korkala from the SEB Bank. Saya has been in the banking sector for the last 19 years. And as Lena mentioned, she has also participated in the mentoring program. Saya, please.
Let's fix this now at the correct level. Your Excellency, Ambassador, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Saya Korkala, a Finnish woman, a banker, a wife, and a mother. I'm happy to lead SEB's representative office in Delhi, in India. My path in banking started actually already in university when I chose economics as my major. And my professor wanted to challenge me on that choice, and he asked me, why do you want to study economics? And I answered him that I'm interested in working in capital markets, in the banking sector, and I think that that would be a good background for that. He smiled at me and said, are you sure? It's a man's world out there. And I'm not sure if he was teasing me or what was the message. I didn't get the point. I remember sitting there and thinking that, well, there must be a lot of room for me then. So I stick to my choice, and along with a couple of other girls, we were definitely the odd ones out. Then, after studies, I started my career in a bank as a derivatives dealer. I had a boss, a wise man, who had a principle that every successful sales team must have at least one woman in it. Derivatives at that time, and probably still is, an area in banking with least women. Back in the early 2000s in Finland, there was only a handful of us, so again I was the odd one out. And now I'm here in India after 19 years in banking, of that 16 years with SEB. And before I came here last August 2017, a lot of people asked me if it's a really good idea to go and work in India, you know, you being a woman and all. And I thought it was a great idea, so that's what I did. But now, when I'm here, I realize, looking around in a meeting room, in a conference room, in a CEO roundtable or whatnot, not too many women around. And that's why I'm so honored to be here today to address this important topic of inclusion and diversity, not only because it's important for the company that I work for, but also because it's important for me personally. I'm a mother of 2 daughters whom I constantly tell that they can be and do anything they want if they just try hard enough. And here I am in the same room with the wonderful entrepreneurs who are driving this agenda through their very own companies and very own initiatives. I'm a corporate banker, yes, in a mostly male-dominated environment, but what do I know about inclusion and diversity? In fact, when we had diversity training with SEB in our small management team a few months back, I felt a pinch in my stomach because there was a trainer who said that it's very typical that women who have sort of made it are, for example, against these kind of quotas because they think that they've made it, so what's the problem? Everyone should be able to do that. And I have to admit that I have been thinking that who wants to be a quota woman? But I haven't realized that by thinking that, you're actually being more of a brake than the accelerator, because it really starts with giving the opportunities. And quite intuitively, the quicker you give the opportunities, the quicker the change happens. The bank I represent, SEB, is a leading Nordic financial services group founded 160 years ago, with roots deep in entrepreneurship. In Sweden and Baltic countries, we are a full-service corporate and retail bank, and in Finland, Denmark, Norway, Germany, and UK, we focus on corporate and investment banking. We have over 15,000 people working across Nordics and several branches and representative offices in Europe, US, and Asia. In total, 20 different locations around this world. And this world is changing. Banking is changing dramatically, with a fast pace, with increasing complexity. We need to get every input and innovation and idea to make sure that, first of all, we keep ourselves alive, we keep developing, we keep growing in this extremely disruptive environment. And that's why we need to make sure that we are tapping all possible talent pools to the fullest. SEB's goal is to offer our people equal opportunities to develop individually, and we believe that true diversity, mixed backgrounds and experiences increase creativity, the ability to solve problems and contribute to better decisions, and thereby it benefits our customers but also society in general. This sounds all a little bit soft and slick and maybe embracing the world, right? But it really starts with the business, because we don't only think that it's the right thing to do, but it's also the thing to do if you want to stay relevant to your clients and your top talent and the business in general. So why do we believe that? Like Lena mentioned, you always need the data. So there are several studies showing that diverse teams perform better than homogeneous ones. It might take a little bit more time to get the diverse team operational, but when it gets operational, it starts overperforming the homogeneous teams. Then, as for diversity of thinking, it has been shown that it increases innovation and then again decreases risk, which, by the way, is very topical for the banking industry at the moment. And finally, the inclusive culture leads to many times better results compared to non-inclusive culture, whether it's about exceeding financial targets or being high-performing or being innovative or agile and so on and so forth. But what does diversity and inclusion mean exactly? Our focus here today has been a lot on gender diversity, but when we have in our policies in the company defined these terms, first of all, we have defined inclusion as a state of being valued, respected, and included, involved. In an inclusive organization, everyone can contribute to their fullest potential, and it's a culture where we are curious about new perspectives, experiences, and respectful of differences. So it's not about kind of creating different pockets of people and trying to make them fit in, but it's more about really people being able to contribute from their individual perspective. And actually this inclusive culture is even more important than diversity, because without the culture you're not able to really reap the benefits of your diverse workforce. And then diversity for us means respect for and appreciation of differences in personalities and professional and educational background, as well as identity such as age and gender, geographical provenance, sexual orientation and disability. And many of us are nodding. This is all very easy to agree to, but how do we actually get there? How do we sustain it? And why are we not already there? Because we are not. If we go back to gender diversity, when I was a part of our trainee program recruitment a couple of years back in Finland, we struggled with the fact that in Finland, when we looked at our applicants, less than 20% of them were women, less than 20% in Finland. And now, if we look at the SCB on a global level, 47% of our managers are women, which is quite good percentage and something to be proud of. But then if we look at our senior managers, that figure is 31%. And that was the figure 2017, and that was actually unchanged from 2016. So it's not easy. And as a bank, we have identified that we need to do some actions around this. And it was actually our board who wanted to look into this subject more deeper back in the early 2017. And that led to a formal initiative on inclusion and diversity. And this initiative, again, led to a position statement, which is now adopted by our Group Executive Committee and our Board of Directors. And that position statement covers the ambitions, the measures, the priorities, the commitments and activities around inclusion and diversity. And so, in addition to that position statement, it is now moving ahead. As an example, we have created a steering group around inclusion and diversity. We have hired a responsible person in the bank for this sector, and we have started trainings as an example. And what we are aiming for, apart from other things, is balanced management teams, enhanced human resource processes, and measurement of the progress. So that's something that is there to come. One would like to think that this is something that happens automatically, I mean, with the new generation coming in and all that, but it's not happening automatically. We have seen that already now, so we need to push it and we need to pull it and we need to incentivize and measure and follow up, and once more, it needs actions. And what we have noticed is that, like Lena mentioned, top management commitment and involvement is hugely important. So it starts from the top, really. And then another thing is that one size doesn't fit all, so there are different situations in different parts of the organization, whether it's some product division or some geographical location. In some ways there might be too many men, in some ways there might be too many women. So these issues need to be addressed accordingly. And then third, new technology brings quite exciting tools to work with this, but it's not all uncontroversial. So it might be a good idea to put an artificial intelligence to be meddling with your recruitment process. But then who is going to train that artificial intelligence, and what kind of biases will you move to that? So you really have to be thinking and testing before you start implementing that kind of measures on a broader level. And there are bumps in the way, for sure. Things are not happening quick enough. There's fatigue sometimes. Then different departments are all doing their own thing, so you create double work and a lot of frustration around it. So more sort of collaborative discussion inside the bank, inside the company would help a lot. And then this does not happen without a cost. So there needs to be a budget, especially when you start training people. And finally, it's very easy to put the pressure on the human resources department. But really the powerful place is the recruiting business, and the focus needs to be there. So for SEB, this is a group-wide exercise. We are in the middle of it, so it's not by far finished. And engaging in these kind of discussions and dialogues is one way for us to stay focused on the target and communicate and a bit shame ourselves, if you would would say that, to sort of keep the momentum. And finally, I have been lucky. I have been given opportunities. I have been asking for opportunities. Very often I haven't been given the opportunities I was asking for, but something different, something even better. But with hindsight, I realized that I could have started asking for those opportunities a little bit earlier. So it has taken a lot of encouragement from myself, from my friends, from my husband, from peers, from my mentor. I did take Lena's program, and I find it very useful before I started doing that. So for all the women out there, I would say that start and keep asking for those opportunities. And for the managers such as myself, I keep reminding to offer the opportunities also to the ones who are not asking, because many times they would actually be more ready for the new challenges than the ones asking for it. And finally, let us all listen to the diverse voices in our companies and organizations. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Saya. Are there now any immediate questions, either to Harinder, who spoke before Saya, or Saya at the moment? Please, go ahead.
Thank you so much, and thank you for indulging me. I feel greatly excited, and a lot of what you said resonates entirely. There are two initiatives that you've been leading, and you've seen young millennials and a lot of women mentoring the exec committee and board members. How does that translate into new learning? Because that's also disrupting existential structures of power. It is subverting the conventional wisdom. And many of us are also guilty of assuming extremely male positions when we get into the top leadership roles. A lot of times we also overdo, we also assert, we also behave and assume those mannerisms, the ways of decision making to fit in. And I know that there's no simple answer to that. If you could just speak to both of these issues, I'd be delighted to hear more.
So when it comes to different mentoring programs, I can mention we do have, for example, these kind of mentoring programs also within our bank. And it's really this connecting people. It's not only actually for the females, but also for males. So we do have these kind of mentoring programs. One thing that we have done over the years is also trying to encourage young students to start applying for these for the trainee program. So we organize on a yearly basis a sort of young female leadership dinners to sort of keep that discussion going and let the young ladies to ask questions and sort of involve our management in those kind of discussions, and colleagues as well. So that's one thing. And then you were mentioning what was the second question about? Yeah. Yeah, I totally sort of recognize myself from the early years trying to be one of the good guys or one of the guys. But I think it's really about sort of
a lot comes from this kind of networking, connecting with women, sort of getting the realization that you don't have to be something else, you can be yourself, and that's good enough, and that's actually more important than trying to be something that you're not really. So it's a lot about encouragement and sort of peer discussions and these mentoring type of arrangements. That's what I would say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now we will have the last speaker of the first session, and if I could ask Ms. Archana Karodia-Gupta, who is the past president of Flow and owner of a Touchstone Gems and Jewelry company, to talk about women entrepreneurship and innovative strategies, please.
Thank you. Quite a full house, and I would like to thank the Finland Embassy for doing this program and their commitment to women entrepreneurship. I would like, it's such a vast topic and so many of the aspects have been covered. I'd just like to pick on a few things which I think are relevant. The first thing I would like to talk about is how Finland and other Nordic countries have a lot to teach us in this field of including women, because as you said, about 80% of your women are in the workforce. In India, it's as low as 28% currently. And so we, as in Flow, we had invited ambassadors from various countries, and especially Iceland, because they are the best on the gender parity index, to ask that what are the policies which your government did, which allowed such a high inclusion, and what one of the big learnings that came out for us, which is I think particularly true for Finland as well, is that the Iceland ambassador said that in the 70s they extended school hours. So what happened is, today, if you look at India, say I come from a premier business institute, about 50% of the women of my batch are not working currently. I did a rough calculation as to the income they have lost, because this, once they had children, a lot of them are at home looking after children. A rough calculation of loss of income for it's the Premium Business Institute, is about $2 million. That's the amount of money they have lost by being at home. It's all about childcare. They are rich people. I mean, their husbands are also typically from that background and from Ahmedabad. So this is not only it's a problem at all levels of society in India. One of the crucial things which we can learn from the Nordic countries, and we can try and push as a policy in India, is to provide long working hours, extend school hours, do all your extracurricular activities and all that in the latter half, so that the woman gets at least 8 to 10 hours a day where she can actually go and work get a job or do her business. That is one of the policy changes, I think, it's a little lateral thinking for women entrepreneurship, but it is the enabling factor. And also elder care, because I think in most of Europe, elder care is an issue. In India also, but in India we still have joint families to quite some extent, so that takes care of that problem to some extent. The other thing I would like to, you talked about your mentorship program. I'm glad to share with you, we in Flow have a strong mentorship program. It's called Swayam, which means by yourself. And we extend to any woman. So we have actually two mentorship programs. We have one mentorship program for women corporate directors. So that's a FICCI-wide program with male mentors. And senior women are mentored and trained to become eligible or become good board members. And India has passed a law that you need to have both genders. So that is something which is, and now they are going to be passing a law that you need to have an independent woman director. So because a lot of boards then put family members, which is all right, because if male family members can be on the board, so can female family members. But an independent women director would increase the demand for the kind of people we are training. And the other mentorship program is to set up your own business. So that is called Swayam, and we have been training roughly 1,500 women a year And we connect them to mentors in their business who are Flow members, and help them get bank loans, help them with digital marketing, and so many other, we've impaneled people in every aspect of business. So that Swayam program is something which we are very proud of, and it is working quite well. And for those people who are not members of Flow here, please connect with us if you want to be part of that program. It's almost free. I think we just charge some 1,000 rupee registration fee. So that is one thing. Now, my topic here is about innovative strategies for women. So in India, as I said, there are a lot of demands for women from their homes. As I said, childcare, other issues, and it's difficult for them to move about and to be away from home for a long time. So one is, of course, that we try to create that space through better, childcare and elder care. The other is that, is there any way we can work around it? So, of course, now with the digital age, that solution is coming up. I'd like to again share a number with you. Last year, Indian women selling on Facebook and WhatsApp, not even through their own websites or on formal portals, but just informal selling on Facebook and WhatsApp, did $2 billion worth of business. So this is something which is good not only for India. See, India as a country is fiercely entrepreneurial. I think that's our single greatest strength, and you'd see it not just with Indians here, but Indians anywhere. We just built that way through years of being on, running your own enterprises. And this digital medium has provided opportunities for women. See, you must remember now, you talked about attrition, right? That you have 47% at the manager level, and then it falls off at senior manager level. In India, and I think all over the world, you see this attrition. In the education level, you'll have 50%. Now, the entry level will go down, manager level, senior manager level. That attrition happens because of the demands from home. But those women are equally as educated and as capable of working. And those sharp minds are sitting at home, not able to get away, mostly trapped by own guilt, and also by societal expectations and the actual physical nature of work. So this digital opportunity of getting into e-commerce for women at all spectrums of society. And we must also remember that India is the last refuge, you can say, of widespread crafts and hand production. In most other countries, most of what you consume has been made in large factories. India is biodiverse. Even in this field, we have thousands and thousands and thousands of types of crafts being produced by literally hundreds of millions of people. So this as an opportunity for women, for them to market these or produce these and sell them through Facebook, WhatsApp, Amazon, and other e-commerce. This is one huge opportunity which is there, and organizations like us, we have a role to play in terms of influencing policy, in terms of training women, in terms of creating self-help groups. In India, you have something called self-help groups for rural women and artisans. For us, business women actually goes down to even at the rural levels. So that is an opportunity. I'm also currently the chair of the FICCI MSME committee. So that's the main chamber, not just the women's chamber. And as part of that, I'm getting Amazon and WhatsApp to carry out trainings across the country, including a lot of women, for B2C and global B2C. Because in export also there is a huge opportunity which we can sell straight from here. So I think I will bring this. I think we're running out of time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Archana. We started a bit late. We are not running out of time because I think whatever we have heard this afternoon has been so interesting and thought-provoking that I think we will take our time discussing these issues. But I can see, Haringer, you would have the floor. Sorry? Okay, I'll try to find it right. If it's here, you can't hear. If it's here, it echoes. I'm so sorry. Maybe it's the finished design of the building. Because we don't have enough sort of soft materials here. Now, if I can ask my colleagues to get our panel ready here. So if you do it now, and I will say in a couple of words in the meantime, just to keep you on your seats, to make sure that you don't sort of escape. Because these are always the dangerous moments when chairs are being reorganized, people tend to escape. I just picked up a few ideas and sentences that were mentioned by the various speakers, who were all excellent. Thank you for that. Best people as leaders, whether we talk about men or women, we need to think of the best people. Real information and facts to be provided, awareness to be increased. The Finnish Corporate Governance Code 2008, comply or explain. I think that's a brilliant idea, as Lena was describing it. How could a sort of a multi-million company CEO come out and say and explain, I just simply couldn't find a woman to be a member of my board. I would like to see that. I don't want to see that happen, but anyway. Role models, that was taken up so many times, and I can only emphasize that myself. Mentoring programs are always useful. They make the mentors and mentees think, and they bring people together and open new networks. Economic empowerment, that was a very powerful statement. But I think empowerment and economic empowerment, when they go together, that will really make the change. Then also government policies, very important. We were talking about childcare issues, long or short school hours. In Finland we have rather short school hours, but I mean then there are extracurricular activities. But anyway, I think the role of the government here in particular is to provide the enabling environment, enabling legislation for everybody, for women to participate equally in the workforce. Innovative strategies. I found it very interesting what Archana was saying in the end about the role of the e-commerce that it can make on women's economic empowerment. We have come a long way, but sometimes I also think that we're already in the end of 2018, and we're still speaking of these issues, how to empower women. How come? But apparently, this is an issue we need to keep on addressing, and we just have to make sure that there aren't any backlashes. I started my professional career 33 years ago, and I was an odd bird at the time when I joined the foreign ministry, and people were asking me, and you think you can make it? You think you can become an ambassador? I said, sure. I had no doubts about myself. Like Saya said, believe in yourself, and you can make it happen. So now, ladies and gentlemen, I think we are ready for the next session, and after that, bear with us, it will be very interesting. After that, there will be refreshments, water, tea, whatever you feel like having. So can I now invite here, is our stage ready? Hello, are you ready? Very good. So Lena, please. Any chair. Pinky, please, if you can step. We have Nilesh and Janne already. I can see them standing. Very good. Harjinder, please, you as well. And Archana. No, I think I will stand. I was trying to pair question and a person. And
hello.
So I asked the question if the person and then the addressee can address it shortly, couple of minutes. If somebody else feels like addressing the same question, please take the floor. And after that, I give a floor to the audience. So maybe I take 2 questions and then floor to the audience. But we try to keep this as interactive as possible. And what was our theme? Sharing best practices, indeed. And I think we can also address, what we were discussing early on. But then I had the first question, and this is now addressed to Leena. How do we create better inclusive leadership? What kind of role can mentoring and mentoring programs play in paving way for women in business and in leadership positions, please?
Is this on? Can you hear me? Yeah? Okay, good. And I have a loud voice. I have all my career, 30 years, doing lots of presentations, so that perhaps helps. Mentoring is not the only answer, but it is one of the answers, and I think increasingly so. However, mentoring can be seen also in a mild way, narrow way, so that it is only personal improvement. And that is not, it is good, but that might not lead anywhere. In the USA, they actually often say that you need sponsorship. And we try to, I cannot use the word sponsorship in Finland in this connection because it would not sound right. It might not sound right even in India. But the idea behind this is that the mentor should also see a little bit wider, that is the mentee seeing all the possibilities, opportunities there are. Can I introduce my mentee to my own connections, to my own network? And we have been supporting our mentors with this idea that it should not just be the personal improvement, but also see the career, the network as a whole. So this has led, as I have mentioned already, to some women receiving board memberships, etc. But in order to have the full outcome of the mentoring, this sponsorship idea should be included, whether you use the word sponsor or not, but somehow not just the personal improvement. Because the truth is that if you have women at a certain level, of course you can always improve yourself, develop, but it might be that you already have the expertise needed for the position, but you have not found the way to get to that position. So that's how the sponsorship part should be there. So I think this is something that should be added to the discussion, that there should be targets and goals for these programs, also that what are we looking for, and also a mentee participating in it. That sometimes we see in our program that, okay, the mentee, okay, this is good, I want to be part of it, but does not have a fully clear idea herself, what is she looking for, and then it might mean that she's not reaching very many results because she's not fully goal-oriented in this. So this is something also that the mentee should be very active, considering what tools, what advice, what discussion do I need myself in this process. Thank you.
Thank you, Leena. Anybody else in the panel who would like to address the same issue? Please.
Regarding mentorship, a lot of the fact that women don't reach out is, to some extent, it's psychological, because we tend to typically undervalue ourselves, as you mentioned. We always come to things a little later. We don't ask for enough, and there I think a role of mentorship and a role of connecting with other women who are doing that thing gets you in that space where you start thinking these things are possible and these things are normal. And that role, I think, even more than the actual knowledge that you gain, that giving of that, just to realize that, okay, so many other people are doing it, and so I can also do it, that has a huge role to play in, women actually coming into that space and then not dropping out. So, just...
Thank you. Any immediate question or comment on this from the audience? No? Please, lady over there.
Sorry. One is reaching out, as you said, but what about within yourself dreaming high? You know, and why is it that we women, at least I've seen most of, employees or even managers or even me myself, our dreams are very limited to that extent and very risk averse. Whatever we can achieve is what I would dream about. So how do you dream bigger, better, and scale higher therefore?
This is very much an observed phenomenon. They conducted surveys, men-owned business and women-owned businesses, and they said, where do you see yourself 5 years down the line, or where do you see yourself 10 years down the line turnover-wise? The women typically pitched much lower than men. They achieved a better realization of what they pitched. The men pitched much higher, did not reach what they had pitched, but overall grew faster because they were pitching higher. So women, we tend to pitch lower. We tend to pitch. No, this is a global phenomenon. This was a global survey. It's a global phenomenon. Lean In, you've read Lean In. And I read Lean In when I was 50 years old, okay. I had been in business for 30 years. You think you know everything there is to know, whatever. It's a long time. And then when you read that book, and I would strongly recommend that everybody reads that book, that's the first thing that comes out of it. That we just tend to, why you do take a back seat? We tend to pitch ourselves lower, we tend to undervalue ourselves. And that is the first thing, which I'm glad you pointed out, it's the first thing that women have to,
I was just going to say that is what I was trying to tell.
But it's been seen in the West as well. I mean, Lean In is about a Western thing. It's global.
Please.
Sorry, I didn't know it was globally, but I thought...
Excuse me, just one at a time, Pinky, please.
Sorry. I didn't know it was globally, but it's a very Indian tradition that, the men are always ahead and the women are behind. It's so funny. But it's there somewhere engraved in your brain that you cannot overstep the man of the house. You cannot be more successful. Somewhere within your mind, you're always scared. Oh God, am I going to beat my husband to it? And how is he going to handle it? That kind of a thing. Even you say that.
Yeah. Right, yes, Janne, what do you say, as a Finnish man?
It is changing. I think first of all, it's really interesting to be in this kind of, conference forum, where actually the men is minority, because usually you are sitting and there is not many women, so really nice to be here. But I agree, listening here, all the keynotes, really nice to listen, but I think everything starts from the culture. And if we are looking at the best practices, what is this panel about? It's starting in my case and in our case, from the company culture. I'm coming from the country where the women were getting the vote rights as a second in the world after New Zealand. And I have been growing in the environment where women and men are equal. There is no difference for me in what we are doing or what we can achieve. And I have a lucky to be in India and drive the company where we have today 900 crores to business. We have 1,700 employers. And from them, unfortunately, only 40% is the females. Our goal is to reach 70%, but as it was addressed earlier, there needs to be policy changes to make it happen and possible. And I wouldn't put in that way that it's against women and men. There is no possibility for the women. There is a lot of possibilities. I think it's only that culture needs to change. The culture needs to change in the companies. And when we are talking about the mentoring, I think mentoring is also the role model. And when we are talking about the best people, we need to look at the people equally. We need to treat them fair and give the same opportunities for everybody. And I think if the company's top management is thinking in this way, I think there the change is starting.
Thank you. Leena, please, with address.
If I may I fully believe this is a global phenomenon, and in our mentoring program, some of the male mentors have told about their experiences, that they have offered a good promotion for a fully capable woman, and she has refused it. And if you have read Ginny Rometty, who is CEO of IBM, she has told publicly that earlier during her career, she was offered a promotion. She told the boss that I'm not ready for this, couple of years, then I will be ready. Told her husband that evening at home that this is what happened. Her husband asked, who is the man who would give that kind of answer to an offer? And she said, nobody. And the next day, she accepted the promotion. So we need the awareness raising and role models for this issue. And there might be sometimes that if a woman is too assertive, people don't like us. And I have sometimes seen it a little bit, but I don't care anymore at this stage.
That's right. We all know this joke about, assertive men and pushy women. Well. There's one question, please, lady in the red jacket.
Hi. So, I was in the United Nations in New York a couple of months ago, and they've actually come up with a program which says 50-50 by 2030, which means 50-50 men and women at all workplaces by 2030. So my question is that a lot of organizations are trying to include a clause which would state that there should be mandatory 50% of women in the workforce. So either of you can answer that. How far-fetched is it, and what do you think about that?
I think I give the floor to Nilesh on this matter, please.
Yeah, the difficult one. I don't know how many of you know about Tieto, but Tieto means knowledge in English, and we are based in Pune, about 3,000 people, headquartered in Helsinki, Sweden, Norway, and that's where I'm coming from. About the question, I think one of the options is this reservation part of it, where we are talking about 50-50, but I see there is a bigger, greater perspective needs to be there. So greater good needs to be there. For example, with Tieto, what we have been trying and preaching also is value for life. So when you talk about value for life, we are talking about value for people, value for society, value for businesses. And in that respect, then I agree the earlier notes also, we are talking about the inclusive ecosystem. And diversity is one aspect of that ecosystem. And when you look out and drive organizations from the greater good to the society, then actually there is a better chance of achieving this, rather than we are targeting the percentage-wide split or the reservation, because this will be more, I will say, a fit gap kind of an arrangement. But the sustainable models will come when the whole culture of the organization will change, the culture of the society will change. And that's what I think could be the better approach, rather than we are trying to look out the options which are more short-sighted when it comes to giving the percentage. Because I agree to the earlier presentations also, where my wife works as a senior executive in the banks, and if I say that, okay, you are selected in the senior executive because of the reservation, you can see that anyone will not like that, and that's not the way how it needs to be preached, practiced, and I'm 100% sure that everyone agrees to that. And I think that is one thing. Then the culture of organization. And the last part, I think, which was not covered in an explicit manner in the earlier presentation, is that we need to have enormous force behind not only the social part, but the network of ambassadors within the organizations, outside the organization, who keeps on talking about this and creating the awareness into the society. Because it's not only to the woman, it's about, everyone. Training the man is the biggest of the issue than actually investing into the woman, which is what my personal take is, because my mother used to work. I have seen her closely working, and I see that the bigger problem is somewhere else right now, needs to be fixed. And to the earlier comments, actually, I don't know if the question comes that how many of us in this are earning more than your men, then actually it will be a good discussion. Right? But I think we have to understand that this is going to happen. So first of all, whether we are ready, raising the hands, I mean, you are ready, you need to keep on raising the hands all the time, which is what we have been talking about. The first hand should be raised is your hand. Because in the meetings when the positions gets open, actually we are thinking about family, we are thinking about what will happen to the school, whether who can drop, and a lot of nitty-gritties. And I had gone through this personally also with my wife. So I think raising the hand is also another point which I wanted to cover, that you need to keep on raising your hand all the time, and then I am 100% sure that the system will fall in place and we will find the avenues. Yeah. So the long answer, but I just tried to cover a lot of points. I was waiting.
Thank you very much. There's a lady in green. You have been waiting for a while. Please.
Hello, I'm Dr. Sabina Pillai. I might well be playing the devil's advocate here. I'm involved in a program under the GenPack CSR initiative where we're mentoring women, young women especially, who are coming back after baby breaks. So these are women who now have children in school or creches. The one thing where I found mentoring became a challenge for many of us older women was the fact that these young ladies who largely were from the software IT industry and some from banking refused to take a step down from where they left off. Now that is a challenge I think these ladies have to understand, that they have to take a step back if they've taken time out to come back and demand parity with people who are already at work and have been working. That was such a big mental block in their minds that we will not step down. We left as managers. You can't expect us to be lesser than that. That was a major attitudinal problem that I thought needed to be looked at, because while we talk of inclusion and diversity, our young ladies also need to be realistic about the value that they're ultimately providing. And to take a step back and then reach out would make so much better sense, but it needed a great deal of convincing from the older ladies to give them that perspective. So that's an experience I've had which I thought makes sense in this forum. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, you over there, please. You in black suit.
Hi, I'm Swati, and I also work in a very male-oriented industry, which is construction, and that too for the defense sector, so there are barely any women around. And one thing that I wanted to say was, of course, I agree that culture matters. I agree with whatever we spoke about, lean in. But one thing as mentors and as men and women who are empowered that we need to do is empower others. So, you know, when we started talking about maternity leaves and paid time offs, so when we are in a leadership position, what are we doing in our company to not just change the culture, but also bring about friendlier policies? I think that is one of the reasons I would say Finland might be ahead in terms of gender diversity from what I've heard. So what can we do in India, and what have we all done in our companies to do that?
Thank you. Before I give the floor back to the audience, now back to the panel. What was said by the lady in green was quite intriguing, and in Finland we see it differently. But I'd like to hear from our panelists. Janne, please.
Yeah, my question was in my head that why to step down? It's not how we are doing. Actually, and it's answering also a bit your question there with the black shirt, missing the name, but we have been thinking a lot because, like I said, that we have been trying to reach 70%. It's not the goal, it's the mentally, because we believe that the biggest part of our customers are women, and we believe that when they are meeting the sales advisor or our staff in the stores, it's always nicer to meet the lady, right, than the male sales advisor. So first what we started was that we have been introducing 5 days work week in our company. We pay for the 6 days, but people are working for the 5 days. And why we are doing this one is that we understand the society, we understand the responsibility at home, what women has, and in this way they can work 5 days a bit longer, and then they have 2 days off, and then they take these responsibilities. We try to also combine these 2 days together. You work in the morning, you go to the 2 days to the leave, and you are returning to the evening shift. Also, our business is done after 6 o'clock in the evening times. Shops are closed 10, 11 in the evening, and then it's coming also to the safety aspect. And there we have been then solved the situation in the way that we provide not only for the female but also male colleagues the caps where we have a GPS and the security card, and we transport them to the home door. And so far, after 3 years operating the stores, we have 0 incidents with the safetyness with our people. Then coming to the maternity leave, there we are actually looking again the diversity in the way that we are calling the paternity leave. So also the male colleagues get 1 month off when they are getting the baby to the family. And why we are doing this is that we want to be also fair and leave for them also the happiness to enjoy the new member of the family, but also this is giving the opportunity that when the woman in the family needs to return to the work, the male colleague, our male employer can be at home and help to return for the female colleague when they are returning to the work. Women's in HTM, they are getting 6 months maternity leave, paid leave, and when they are returning, they will return to the same position as they left. And there is no that you cannot apply to the next position or something like this. If they want, we also give them the opportunity to work half-time, and what we are looking now is that could we anyway pay, let's say 80%, even you work half-time, and when you return back, maybe you compensate this one to support also the family in the economic way, because we have a new member in the family.
I'm talking of a few years later. So there is a gap in terms of technology that they need to catch up. One of the constant things that came up from employers was that we are now on Python, which apparently is the latest computer language in the corporate sector. None of them knew about it. So they said, you've got to be realistic. Take some time to get to par and then take it from there. But they had this fixated idea that no, we will not take a step back. We need to get back where we were. Maternity leave, completely with you. That is a right every woman should get, and therefore parity completely. But we're talking of a few years of a gap and then coming back. There, apparently, there was this conflict.
Yeah, maybe we have a nice industry because we don't have so much technology. We are selling the clothes, but they're applied the same. If you have a bit longer out, we do the training program. It's an investment for us, but we believe that it's always better that employer is returning than to fall out. And it's the best for the company. And if I'm looking in the 3 years, our attrition, total attrition in HTM is 15%, which is a really low. And if I'm looking at the females, we are 9%, because females love to work with us. And I'm really, really proud of this. Yeah.
Thank you. Nilesh, can I ask you to comment, because I know that at Tieto you have quite an exceptional situation in Indian terms.
Yeah. Yeah, but the discussion is valid, that I think it's not something to do with women. I think even we are struggling right now to keep pace with the technology. So I think it's, yeah, I mean, I have been really honest, candid. I am half Nordic. So in that context, we are also struggling. So I think we cannot isolate the situation with the women, but I think everyone is struggling right now to cope up with this environment. What, I mean, personally, as well as an organization, we are doing is, instead of training, actually, I will say the reskilling is a big issue for everyone. I mean, how fast you can reskill and what kind of approaches you can put in practice right from the academia. Because now I go to a lot of academia and tell them that I think don't educate them, you need to train them to be reskilled faster. The sooner they can reskill themselves, I think the better possibility for everyone, for that matter, to cope up with the technology. So the issue in the industry right now with this digitalization is more reskilling, the faster reskilling, and there are many ways, like I think someone said about the AI. I think you talked about the AI that could be, the gaming could be used, the real-time systems could be used, and in that way we are helping to bridge the gap. to see that how fast we can get them at the same level, because and it's nothing to do with the particular gender, but it is with everyone right now, and we are having that problem.
Thank you. Please. Hi, very interesting discussion. My name is Kalpana. I'm the head of HR for Lindstorm. I'm heading India as well as South Korea. So my query is, I think every year what I have observed in the statistics, 47% of the fresh graduates as far as females are concerned are there in our country, out of which 24% are or would enter into the corporate world, fresh graduates. And out of that, 19% would enter into managerial path, kind of a career structure. And the irony is, out of 19%, hardly 7.1% would go into the senior level, and 2.1% would go to the top level, which is awful. Like, we are in a country wherein I think I feel a little awkward to say that we are amongst the lowest 5th country in the world, having top leadership female employees or entrepreneurs in our country. So in Lindstorm, like what I did in last 4 years back when I joined this organization, I was the first employee at a senior level as a female who joined Lindstorm as the HR manager, country HR manager 4 years back. And I was like feeling very bad that we hardly have 5% or 4% female in our entire head count. So since then, I had this particular picture in my mind that if I need to change the society, then I had to start with my company itself. Then the first step was recruitment, to make recruitment more diverse. So I started to have, or rather started to convince the management that let us try a female candidate at least. If we are not able to find a good male candidate, be it sales, be it production, be it any function. And they very supportingly took that idea. And right now I'm proud to say that we have 20 to 25% female employees working in Lindstorm, and out of which I think out of 15, 5 female employees are in the India management team at the top level positions. And I also hail from the same background wherein I was told to be a teacher. You cannot pursue your dream of becoming an entrepreneur or getting into a top leadership position, wherein I chose my destiny. Somebody was talking about thinking big. I thought that I need to write my own destiny. I will become that person what I want to be. So that's the reason I'm sitting here. I think I'm the only person in my entire family right now, all the generation who's into corporate world, and most of them are still in teaching background, and they come to me and ask about the suggestion for their kids now. Like, how can we promote our female kids or girls to get into this kind of a position? So I think, yes, we need to think big first, and then culture, again, matters a lot. My mother supported me a lot. She was a teacher, and she told me, you have to choose your dream. I'm not the one who will dictate you that you need to become this or that. So I think culture and then the space which we usually get from our parents really plays a very important role. And I've traveled Finland many a times, and I can see a hell lot of difference, the cultural difference, wherein there I've seen actually equality. And that's how I'm trying to embrace it and trying to push it in my own company as well. So culture, definitely, I would like to listen more, like how can we really, being sitting here, all the senior leadership, I think, assume that we all are quite senior as far as our leadership positions are concerned. How can we really make a difference in India?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Arranger, please. very happy. You know, they said that this design output is not coming from any other company. So, you know, my answer to having inclusive growth is that women have certain kind of thinking process which is so different and distinct in that you can add a lot of value. Now, not only they know about languages, but the kind of twist they give to our output and to our product made it an issue. Two, I make it a point that I speak to all the younger women in the company and understand and, you know, just to interact with them and know what are their ideas. All the young men, why should I only say that I'm talking to women? All the young guys and girls, interacting with them, because it is very important to know what is it they are thinking, what are other companies doing, and what is it they are thinking they want to create as a new perspective in the organization and build it up. And make sure your HR policies are in tandem with what others are doing. You know, once women come back, once women take a break for her maternity, the right to refusal must lie. She has to get the right to refusal. I mean, I'm not saying that she should be given a high, she should not be given a high, but I made it a point that she is getting the right to refusal. And that's the minimum she expects. So I would say that, you know, that thought process in our mind changes the moment we try it with them. They only don't know that they can contribute so much to the design. It was tremendous what they contributed.
Thank you. Lady over there, please.
I'm very grateful to the panel here for enlightening us today on all these issues. I'm Sonali Malhotra. I'm an advocate practicing in Delhi High Court. So I just wanted to share a perspective because over here they're mostly talking about business and employment and jobs. So mine is a very hardcore male-oriented profession because I am in advocacy, and this is typical litigation which I am talking about in courts. So I was wanting to share with all of you that today in India, if you actually see the amount of girl children who are actually going to law schools is very high. Like my friend here is mentioning about the percentages, the similar percentages in law schools now. Perhaps more than 50% of the law school students are girls. However, when we come to litigation, the number drops, and as we go higher in age, as in once they cross the age of 30 or then 40, 50, the number really dwindles to the extent that it goes to the numbers which can be countable on the hand. That's how less women are litigating in hardcore areas of law. Now, even if all of us are sitting, and if any of us has any litigation going on, unfortunately, I think perhaps the moment you think of a lawyer, perhaps when you close your eyes, you think of a male lawyer. I do not think that the female lawyer's image or my image will come in your mind. What I mean to say, like when it was medicine, people thought that women will become gynaes. Then when it was lawyers, people thought women will become family lawyers, divorce lawyers, matrimonial lawyers, but they will not think that women will be doing petroleum and gas. They will not think that women are doing property law. So all that is there. So we face that. One is that difficulty which I face in my profession, and I, as a person who has been 16 years in the profession, am now trying to mentor girls who are younger and telling them, giving them confidence that you are no less. Then I come to the second aspect of it, that once we start practicing as lawyers, then we actually forget our gender, borrowing from the thought which Ms. Kaur had also said while she was speaking, that at the end of the day, you just have to deliver. So once you are in the court and once you are addressing the honorable courts, you don't remember as such that you are a woman standing here. You just think of yourself as a lawyer. And this I learned very early in my life because I also had mentors who were lawyers and senior judges. And once a very senior lady judge, who is now at a very esteemed position, she told me, when I told her that, ma'am, I'm very proud that you are a great woman judge. She said to me that, Sonali, don't call me a woman judge. Just call me a judge. I am a judge and I'm no woman judge. And at that time I was just 25. So I did not understand that way the intensity of her words. But today I do understand what she meant. And I am very grateful to her every single day of my life for telling me that. Because when I go to the courts, I just think of myself as a lawyer. And I perhaps will every day of my life want to dedicate, even if it is few minutes, to just, if I meet somebody in the corridors of the court, a young girl, or even a young boy like you're saying, to tell them that there is actually no difference at the end of the day. But yes, the society needs to change also. As in, the clients need to have confidence in you. A client who is partially educated, who maybe perhaps has the money and therefore the disputes perhaps, but not the education, should understand that you will be able to deliver maybe better than, say, a so-called male lawyer. So that all has to change, and from that also my question emanates that in India we did have a lot of difficulty in getting equality even with regard to women education, where in a generation older to mine, maybe my parents' generation, although my parents are very well educated, but there were a lot of women who were not equally educated as their brothers, because perhaps there was a thought that she's going to get married and she will not bring the bread to the house, and why should we invest so much in her education when we have to invest so much in her marriage? So, you know, we are children of that generation, and we obviously are passing on a very different culture to our daughters. So I just wanted to understand that from the Western perspective, that are the values different there, and, you know, are these only our battles which we are fighting? So if you could please shed some light.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. You know, it's amazing that you're talking about lawyers. I have two of my nieces, my brother's two daughter-in-laws, are lawyers. And I think, and we have the most very popular law school in Hyderabad, which even the President of India can't get you into it. It's NALSA. You know, it is so competent. So, and I've been seeing the amount of, I think the last 5 to 10 years, the ratio of girls have increased in law. And I think doctors have reduced, but lawyers have increased. I've been noticing that, because anybody I see, they're doing law. Law, and I think architecture is another thing which girls are really going in a large way. And I think things are changing quite a bit. And even in like rural areas, even in smaller, I think the credit goes to technology. People are changing a lot. You know, we have a lot of people from our villages who come as help, who come as domestic help. And it's amazing, they all are uneducated, but they know how to use a smartphone. And they know which app you should use for what. And it's incredible how technology and all that has changed our country so much. I think in another 5 to 10 years, we'll see tremendous change in our country. A lot. And as you were saying about how it's abroad, I think they are ahead of us. We're still catching up with them. You know, I think they don't have an issue with the gender issue, I think, at all.
Thank you. Lena, please.
I also have law degree, and at the time when I studied law, which was obviously decades and decades ago, women were in the minority, and after graduating, I worked briefly as a judge, and interestingly, at that time, because there were more male judges than women judges, several times I was addressed as Mr. Chairman. And it's really interesting to see how strong, because I don't think I look very much like a man, so it is just so strongly in the head at that time, all the role models. And now, of course, this is changing. There's much more women studying law, and majority of judges are becoming women. So the young female judges would never ever experience this. And as for doctors, vast majority women. So there are, even in Finland, during my career, there have been tremendous changes, and I expect that there will be tremendous changes in this country also. Of course, having to do how to organize the attitudes toward childcare, and employers also possibilities to offer the similar possibilities as your company is doing. So this might be sharing best practices to the other companies to show that how you can retain your employees and not to have to recruit spend so much time and money for recruiting. So I hope this is also a possibility for a wake-up call here.
There is actually in our sector the companies, big Indian companies, which have an attrition 110% in the year. And then you put your question mark that if I would lead this company, where I would invest to recruit and train, or try to retain the people in the organization. And about the lawyers, I have 5 of them, and 3 of them are women. and they are great.
I'd just like to say one thing, like we're talking about who is the one who's going to bring about change. So there is a role, and as a women's chamber or a women's organization, there is a role for bringing about change in government policy and advocacy. There is a role of preaching to corporations and getting them to change their attitudes. There is a role of preaching to parents and talking about the change they can bring about. And then there is a role of talking to the women themselves and mentoring them, encouraging them. So it's not one thing. All of them, there is a role for each change to be brought about in each of that. And as an organization, we have to talk to all these and the media. And the media, which again is important for role models.
Thank you, Archana. Now there's a lady in green, please.
Thank you. Yes, it is a green symbol because a few years back we did a study. I am Dr. Manshi Mishra from Center for Social Research. A few years back we did a study on women managers in India, opportunities and challenges. Till now it is so valid to see that if we create particularly certain enabling situation within the company, within the industry, how better it becomes for the women who work there and who wish to join in that industry, such as flexi hours for working, such as transport facilities, such as grace facilities, such as honoring their staying back late for work. So how the board meetings has to be organized within the working hours to have them in the board. So these small changes can literally bring so many women to the workforce. We are actually at 32% few years back, and now we are struggling with 28%. So what are the policies that really went wrong? We have to analyze that. It's not that the societal attitude is that the women are not joining, because I am coming from a women organization which does a lot of advocacy, lobbying with women policies. We are on government boards as a nodal agency for many works. So we know exactly the society, like girls entering professional areas, higher education is a relatively new phenomena in India. So how to honor that? During our study, we find out, okay, there is a demand, there is a perfect balance between demand and supply in the industry. Girls entering at the entry level, they are 90%. But by coming to the middle level, they're dropping out at the rate of 60%. And like all of us as women, we know that middle level has the year and age of getting married, having children, becoming new mothers, and how to cope that strategy. So within that organization, we should have a policy also of employers' benefit, honoring those men, those husbands who have stood back with their wives in those difficult times. What about that? So can we think of this new innovative things, ideas, strategies that we can bring in within the industry? Thank you.
Thank you. And then lady in white.
I have a question to every lady. One time we say that we want equality with the men. As Pinky, you were very irritated when she said why you aim low. And other part, we work with them. As I'm just sharing my experience, I'm talking about 90. In 90, I used to work in a licensing company where I used to do licensing with STC, the State Trading Corporation, and the newspaper, where I have literally bribed the people to get my work done, because that was my nature of a job. It was licensing. So I have done that as being a woman. Then after that, I have worked in a Pepsi company where my day used to start early 6:30, because I used to go with the truck in Delhi. I was the first girl who has worked in sales, on the hardcore sales. I used to go on that truck with a helper and a driver. They used to stink. And I have to used to sit with them whole day. And then gradually when I left it, I was at the post of a marketing manager looking after all the key accounts, PVR, picture halls, schools, colleges. That was the graph I'm talking about. I have worked in a place where only men used to work. It was a hardcore sales. And then why, I'm talking about this is 1992, now we are in 2018. But still, why we used to say that we need the same working hours. My work hours used to start at 6:30 in the morning until 10, 11. Because that is the time in summers, because that is the time the most sale of the soft drink used to happen. So I just get confused. The way we work, we want to work in the field like a man only, as she was talking about lawyer. She was talking about construction business. Harjinder, you were talking about you have worked in the field where no woman used to work. So we work, but still we ask for the equality. We need the same salary, we need the better salary. What we are heading.
So where are you now, Chanika? Are you still working with Pepsi?
No, I have left Pepsi in 2000 because of my son. Because there was nobody at home to take care. Yeah. I left it because of my son. Nini, I have answered, but still see, every time we say we need the equal right. Every woman here in this hall will never evaluate yourself less than a man, right? Then why we demand that we need the working hours, the board meeting should happen in those
thank you.
hours. Why?
I think we got the point. So please, thank you. Thank you.
So, please. Yes, I agree with her to the extent that women cannot you cannot have the cake and eat it too. I totally agree with you. I mean, if you want to be seen like a man, you want to be top 10 or top 50 in the country, you have to give it those working hours. You cannot say I'm working 9 to 5, but I'm supposed to. I'm on this. Yeah. You know, in my field, when I travel, some of the people tell me that you're a jet setter. You are always on flights. You are always there on meetings. You are always going and working. And I've been working a lot with government. You know, I totally agree with you. When sometimes I listen to women, they say, you see, I'm on 9 to 5, right? You see, my kids are going. You see, this is happening. Those are all your social structures. And that is why we women are good at multitasking. And that is our virtue. And in case we have to stand shoulder to shoulder with a man, we have to understand that we will have to work that extra bit. Yes. And we have to work overtime. We can't run. I really appreciate when you say you sat in a truck and you traveled from one point to another and driving myself. Yeah. I was not forced to take that job. I took it myself. Yes, I can. So we need to change our mindset also to that extent.
Thank you. There's someone who has not spoken yet.
Can I say
please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Dr. Abha Wadhwa. I am a professor in Delhi University, and I've been teaching for 28 years. And I've been teaching this paper of law, taxation, to become undergraduates from economics, and corporate governance also. We also keep holding the seminars on corporate governance, and we are doing it because I as a teacher have realized that when the girls come to us, we also see the past so many years, girls are excelling more than the boys. They are getting admission in the universities, in higher educations, as you also say, that no other, even Delhi University, no child can get an admission into BCom honors scoring less than 95%. And the girls are there, and they are doing very well, and we are teaching them also. But somewhere I do feel what we teach them in theory and what we all discuss all the time, but when you go into the practical life, there's all the more differences there. Because practical, the world, political pressures, policies of the government, there are many, many things. The higher you go, the higher problems you have. At the lower level, just getting into education, teaching the students, we can give them lectures. In theory, we are telling them all the policies. But when in practical, they are all following it, there's quite a difference.
I'd like to say something here. I agree with you that as an individual, when you are
looking at a situation and you want to achieve something, then you have to work out what you have to do to achieve that. And you may need to work harder for that, because there are, besides your job responsibilities, society does expect more input from you at home. So as an individual, that's the decision that you take. But as a society, if we look at, here we are also discussing what a society should be like. As a society, when you're seeing women's participation in the workforce at 28%, then there is a problem. There is a problem, and that problem cannot be that women are not capable of participating to a greater extent, because in so many countries, it's not that we are genetically different from the Finns, that they have an 80% participation and we have a 28% participation. There are problems in the societal structure which is causing these women not to work. And that problem is, as I said, the role requirement at home is very heavy. There is a cultural difference also. So for us, as women, our own problems we will solve by going out and working. But society's problems, you have to change structures so that people who you are at home, right? Your child goes to school. You trust that school. You send your child to that for 4 hours. If the school hours were till 5, and he was still in that school and doing all those extracurricular activities, he comes back and then he goes for one class, and then he goes for the second class, and then he goes for the third class, and you're coordinating him. If all of that was happening in that school, and you had till 4 o'clock or till 5 o'clock free, you would be working. So these structural changes, if we bring about, and unfortunately in India, we are only talking about a small percentage of people who are in that space, because who have enough money for these problems to be their problems. But in India, the reason why, to address your thing, why we used to have in the 70s a 40% labor participation rate for women, and it is now 28%. It is falling year on year. And the reason for it is that typically you have a U-shaped curve of women's participation in based on income. So as India has been getting richer, more and more people are coming in that middle bracket, which has the lowest participation, and that is why it has fallen. So that is not a bad thing. It's happened because we are getting richer. It's not that society is getting more regressive, but so many women don't really have to work to just survive. Now the thing is to change the thinking and to make it easier, so that as a whole, you see, if you're running with weights on your legs, some people may be strong enough and fast enough to beat somebody who's not running with weights on their legs. But for most people, it will be a drag. So we are just trying to remove the weights.
There's one last question, somebody who has not spoken yet. Lady in the back, please.
Hi, so I'm from Hong Kong and I've recently just moved into Delhi right now. I think a situation that comes in of just the things that I've heard recently is marriage in India and how women are affected by it. So I think there's this age of learning curve where after a certain, maybe if you're like 23, 25, the parents or the family start really worrying about, oh, she's not married, there's something wrong with her. She could be doing perfectly for herself. She would be very well educated, probably from a top university, but I think coming from Hong Kong, it's a very different situation over here where, ironically, I just got married is why I moved to India, but it's very different here where people start really worrying. So just for a small example, where I met like a family member and she's 30 and everyone just started talking about how she's not married. No one knew or wanted to know how she's doing for herself or, what else is the situation, but she's 30, she's not married, and I think that's really causing a situation here as well. So how do you think those societal situations could change within families as well and not just hinder the women when they're working or trying to do something for themselves rather than focusing so much on the marriage or societal issues that go on and work around that?
Thank you. Who would like to take this, please?
here I'd just like to say that this focus on women's marriage traditionally came out because women were not working and they needed economic support. So it was very crucial that they get married. This is just from a purely sociological perspective. It was crucial that they get married so that they have support later in their lives. Now, over time, a lot of women are financially independent. So that physical reason for getting married is going away. But, you know, I don't know if you Pavlovian thinking, those channels are very set in our mind that women should get married, and the physical reality has changed, but our thinking has not changed as fast, but it will change. Because as you see, and even today, say 30 years ago, if I still remember, I mean, people saying, oh, so-and-so is not married in this family, and it used to be a big deal that, you know, is it possible? Because in India, it's a religious duty for a father to get their children married. But today, it's not something that you comment upon. It's not, oh, you know, there is a family that lives in the next lane which has an unmarried daughter. So that at least it used to be, don't you remember? And now we don't comment on it. Now if you say, oh, so-and-so is not married and she's 35, then you'll say, oh, really, you know, maybe let me think of what I can do or something. It's not that, you know, what a horror this is.
If I may add, Archana, they might say they're lucky. There's a huge percentage of women who are in their 30s, 30s and 40s who are unmarried, and the joke is that they seem to be much more liberated, much more happier than we married, boring people. Because I'm 47 years old, and I have a lot of friends who are single, who are doing really well in work. They've really achieved a lot in life, and they're single. Either they have parents supporting, or they have their own, they're running their own businesses or whatever. But they all now I think there's this whole groups of girls. I think they're all like being such good girlfriends to each other that they're happy that way. They don't want a unnecessary man in the picture.
Okay, now we are reaching the very final round. So yes, yeah. That's right. Yes, exactly. I think
that's women empowerment.
That's right. I think Pinky has said her final word. Huh? I think because I was saying that now I give the very final word to each of the panelists. So maybe you said your final word. So I will start with Niels. Your final word for us and for the audience and for the future, for the empowerment.
Yeah. Yeah. I think in the whole discussions I have been attending these kind of discussions from the Swedish chamber as well as now Finnish. I think it boils down to male and female, and I think that's not the way how it should end, and which is what the feeling I have. So like I stated at the beginning, there is a larger perspective, the larger purpose. And once we shift our focus from this male-female and move into the greater perspective, greater purpose, then I am 100% sure that we can achieve something which is sustainable. Otherwise, we will have enormous amount of emotional discussions without achieving anything. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Always think big. That's what I feel. Thank you. Lena, please.
Okay. There has been a lot of discussion about the low employment rate of women in India and the high employment rate in Finland. And I would like to mention one thing which is very important in Finland to have women in working life. Municipalities have a legal obligation in Finland to offer quality, affordable childcare. And this is what people benefit from. They don't need to, they can, but usually they don't employ nannies for homes, but they have childcare centers which are monitored and professionally run, and they are affordable. So this means that also people with not so high salary are able to have a career and work, and I think this is something that societies with a very low level of women employment should look into, that what can be done about it, because I understand that if there is no other way, you might need to leave your job, and this is something that the politicians should be interested in, because at some point it might be a problem if the population increases a lot, that if women's employment rate stays as low as it is. Thank you.
But government said that companies need to take that responsibility in India, actually.
Thank you, Nina. It turned out to be really a fun panel discussion. I didn't know from where to where it ran, but it's a women's forum with just a few gentlemen, so let's keep it this way.
Yeah, final words. I think, like in the beginning, I think we shouldn't take men versus women and make it them against each other. I think for you all of there, look for the companies, look what they stand for, what is their culture, how they have policies, how they treat the people, are they fair and equal, do they have inclusiveness in their program. Look what you choose, it's your choice where you go and work, but look that the company where you join has a program where there is equality. And yeah, believe in yourself, that's everything what I want to say in the last words.
Involved in business, how I started. Quickly, one event. I have been in business since last 23 years, and when I was very young, we were there at Parochian Society. We were not supposed to be talking much, and that's what we were grown up also. You are the girls, you don't have to talk much. Girls are not supposed to behave in this way, certain way. And I always used to feel, but there was this thing put in our mind that you have to get married eventually. Alright? So I used to wonder, probably the girls who are speechless, they get married very easily. Man, you don't have to talk, so you will get married. Only when I grew up, I realized that those are not the girls who will get married easily. The girls who will be finally be reaching some pinnacle in their life will be the economically empowered. They are the ones who will have the control in their life. So my mantra and my message to you women today is be economically empowered. That's the only tagline that I can give you today. Thank you.
Thank you very much for our excellent panelists. It has been most interesting, great afternoon, and I hope this is only one of the many afternoons to come. I'm also hoping at Lena, and because I think you have served as a source of inspiration to all of us, and all of you in the panel and who spoke before. Thank you for great thoughts. I think we all have something to take home from here, but before I let you get up, I still have Anna Roy from Niti Ayog, who promised to say a couple of words. I'm happy, Anna, that you could make it, so please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Always an honor to be with you, ma'am. Good evening. Unfortunately, I wasn't party to all the lively discussion which took place earlier. So where I come from is I'll be sharing with you what we are doing in this area and what we are doing for this subject. I have a prepared speech, but I won't bore you, and I stand between you and your tea. I just saw the preparations there. So I won't have a long lecture. What we are doing in Niti Ayog is to promote entrepreneurship, women entrepreneurship as a viable alternative for women who want to go out and kind of take it up as a major career goal. Government is doing on its part a lot. There is on the financing end, you have specific schemes like Stand Up India scheme, where one loan has to be given to a woman-owned enterprise. There are various other schemes also, but where we come from, we feel that not enough visibility is there. You see, besides government, various other organizations are also doing a lot to develop this ecosystem, but somehow there is this information asymmetry because of which people don't get to know about these things. Last year, Niti Ayog with the US State Department organized the Global Entrepreneurship Summit they organized it in Hyderabad, and at the end of it, our CEO, Mr. Amitabh Kant, announced that we will be setting up a women entrepreneurship cell to be headed by me. And that was that, and it came as a surprise. So then we started doing research, and we realized that we really don't need, quote unquote, another government cell to be set up for this purpose. There are enough government establishments to deal with it. But we also realized that the output is not as per expectations. We also noted that so many other organizations, be it, embassies like this embassy, or multilateral organizations like the UN, ADB, World Bank, or the corporates under their CSR, as well as the civil society, they are all working in this ecosystem to promote women entrepreneurship. So from a women entrepreneurship cell, we converted into a women entrepreneurship platform, and we launched it earlier this year on the International Women's Day, 8th of March, in Niti Aayog with a couple of partners. Now, how do we work? We are basically, you can call us the Uber of entrepreneurship. We are the aggregators. We bring in all the parties at one portal. That is what our aspiration is. We showcase their initiatives, and we also provide them an outreach platform to reach to their constituency. The other thing we noticed were the, if we restrict ourselves to online stuff, then the websites were very clumsy, too data heavy, and they were not giving a very user, satisfaction to the people coming on board, and, filling up all the forms midway, people kind of lose interest. So we were conscious of that as well. So now we have a vendor on board, and now we are developing this platform which will be based on AI and ML. It will provide an avenue for a very smart matchmaking between the seekers and the providers of the service. In the back end, it will connect you. So suppose you register as an applicant, you could be having an idea, you may not be an entrepreneur today, or you may be an existing entrepreneur who is looking out to kind of, connect to within the community or to scale up your enterprise. So you register there, you put in, the first registration, we have kept it very, very simple. And then if you kind of put in your background, then you are directed to those initiatives, to those partners who the system feels are better suited to deal with you. And this all will be done through ML and AI, and it will be, it is expected to give a very, very good experience to the users, leading to a very high rate of matchmaking, if I may use that word. It will also provide a platform for various partners to come on board and curate specific initiatives for the women. Like CRISIL is one of our initial partners. They first got into the, green check, CRISIL green check. So many of you will know that, you don't get a credit rating unless you are there in the system for some time and you have a credit history. But CRISIL came out with this green check which will do a basic background search and say, okay, we kind of, all this matches. So we then there will be second and third. So the green check is free. The second, third, fourth tier ratings would be perhaps paid. For some time we will ask CRISIL to kind of, subsidize it. Or some of our other partners could step in and say, okay, X number of women applicants we will support, that kind of a thing. And that will tell you that what are the benefits of rating. For rating, what do you need to do? And it will also advise as to what changes in your business model you need to bring about to get a better rating. So that is one part of it. Similarly, we have many other partners who will kind of, advise you on various aspects of, we have several verticals, and they will advise you either on compliance or on any other marketing or any of the other stuff. I'll give you an anecdotal, anecdotal case where I was similarly addressing a group of women entrepreneurs in Bangalore, and a lady got up and said, I'm a startup for and I'm in my fourth year, and the taxation is too heavy for me, and you must do something for startups. Little did she realize that actually there is a government policy wherein the startups are exempt from taxes for the first 3 years. And I don't know how many of you know about that. And I don't blame you if you don't know, because there's so much of information out there, and you kind of absorb on a need to know basis, and this is not available also. GST is another issue. So these are the things which we have identified as gaps, which we will, the platform will help women in kind of understanding, in increasing their knowledge base, in providing visibility to various schemes like V Foundation is an incubator with IIT Delhi, and for its program in Delhi last year and Mumbai this year, it used our platform, and the women were so happy who got picked up, because they said other than this platform, we wouldn't have even got to know. So we are doing a lot of outreach work also, where we are trying to enroll as many women as possible onto the platform. Presently, we are engaging with entrepreneurs. Yeah, I'm just
Sorry,
finishing.
the tea is really there.
5 seconds, huh? The tea is really there. Yeah, 5 seconds more, because this is the, So presently we are working with the vendor in developing the platform, and in case you have any features which you would like to see on the platform, please send a mail to me, and this is the time at which we will really look forward to your input, so that we come out with a product which really caters to the ecosystem out there. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, sir. I think this was a very good combination of practical experience, experience from the field, experience from the academia, experience from the government side, and also hearing from Anna what is being done in India to push female entrepreneurs ahead. As I said, the figure in Finland is one third, could be a bit more the same in India, but what I really liked also hearing this afternoon is entrepreneurial spirit of India. It is really there. I've been here for 2 years, and I witness it. I've been traveling quite a bit, and I witness it in so many parts of India. It starts from something very little, and something that can go up in the end. So thank you so much, and thank you for the great audience. Thank you for great questions. I had prepared 7 questions for the panel. I had time to ask 1. And then after that, the panel took its own life. So thus, I said you were all excellent members of the panel, and you proved the point. So now some high tea, afternoon tea, drinks for you to enjoy. So please join us, other side, and also go and have a look at the garden, which has been recently also restored. Thank you.